Welcome back, horror fans. It's your man P of Pinpoint Pictures. Shout out to all my returning subscribers. And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit that bell before you go so you know when I drop a new video. Today we got another fun one. We're going to run down 8 underrated 90s horror flicks you probably haven't seen. Matter of fact, I know y'all don't know nothing about these. Ranging from grisly body horror, twisted mirrors to retro zombie mayhem. These forgotten gems each offer a little something to pique your darkest curiosity. So, without further ado, let's dive in. First up, Body Parts, a 1991 horror film directed by Eric Red starring Jeff Fahey, Kim Delaney, and Brad Dourif. After losing his arm in a car accident, a criminal psychologist has it replaced with a limb that belonged to a serial killer. This is a psychological horror playing with the possibility that a transplanted body part might be more than just its physical form, but that it could also transfer the evil of its donor to the new recipient. Our main character is haunted by violent impulses and visions after receiving a transplant from a serial killer. Now he's tormented by conflicted signals of dread and desire, making him feel like he's losing control of his own body and going crazy. It's a bit of a slow burn as we build up to the horror, but with tight frames and shadowy cinematography highlighting the paranoia while keeping us, the viewers, on edge. Plus, there's some decent practical effects for the body horror that still works today. You can catch Body Parts streaming for free on the Roku channel or rent and purchase on Fandango or Amazon Prime.
Body Parts.
Next up, Mirror Mirror, a 1990 supernatural horror directed by Marina Sargenti, starring Karen Black, Rainbow Harvest, and Kristen DiTillo. A teenage girl begins receiving black magic powers through an antique mirror that drips blood, not realizing the mirror is controlled by demonic forces. This is definitely one of those under-the-radar horror movies from back in the day, and actually has 2 sequels also. I remember renting this on VHS back then. But anyway, here we have a cursed mirror serving as a portal and a harbinger of doom. And who's better to have this thing in their bedroom other than the school's gothic outcast? A creepier B-movie version of Lydia from Beetlejuice. Being bullied by some of the prettier, more popular mean girls, the in crowd, because of her looks. The movie capitalizes on reflective imagery using the mirror's surface to reveal and conceal the horror. Anybody looking in the mirror for vanity reasons are met with distorted reflections of their worst selves and other type of haunting visuals. This used to be a hard one to find, but if you really want to check it out now, you can catch Mirror Mirror and both of its sequels streaming for free on Tubi.
Can you just leave like that?
Who the hell are you talking to?
Now, Calibus, a 1999 horror slasher directed by Daniel Liatowicz, starring Amy Weber and Danny Terranova. Terror strikes 5 young adults who agreed to be filmed for 3 months in an isolated lodge where they encounter a murderous serial killer. This is another hidden gem from the 90s that was majorly unseen. At least most folks I've ever mentioned it to have never heard of it. The movie has a low budget look to it that actually works in the film's favor, with the eerie atmosphere also enhanced by its dreamlike visuals and lighting colors that they choose. This is one of the early films trying to break away from mainstream horror formulas and testing out the reality TV concept, so the actors' performances lean into the surreal vibe the movie is structured for. Plus, it delivers some good kills and plenty of tension throughout the whole nightmarish experience. So if you've never seen this, you're interested in a trippy offbeat entry to horror, check out Calibus, and this is also streaming free on Tubi. Next up, The Guardian, a 1990 supernatural thriller directed by William Friedkin, starring Jenny Seagrove, Dwyer Brown, and Carrie Lowell. A couple with a newborn son doesn't realize that their new nanny is a druid witch, kidnapping babies and then feeding them to a tree. This is another slow-building mix of gothic and modern horror elements, where the tension is amplified by the pacing and pending reveal of the nanny's mysterious and devious background and her motives. She's supposed to be the protector of this newborn for a family with busy work lives, but her role morphs into something more dark in nature, as she also worships some entity in the form of a tree, guarded by killer wolves. But once the walls start closing in on her, she punishes those trying to disturb her mission. Not overly gory with the kills, so it plays out a bit more suspenseful when it happens than terrifying, even with the tone of the movie matching the shadowy environments. And even with some of the questionable decision making, the three main characters still give good performances. Especially the dad, once he kicks into gear, realizing his family's in danger, and he got to step in and do something. Definitely one of the hard to find flicks from the VHS age. So if you want to revisit or check out this for the first time, The Guardian is available for rent or purchase on Fandango and Amazon Prime.
She cooks, she cleans, she takes care of the baby. What else does she do?
Now let's move on to Tales from the Crypt, Demon Night. A 1995 horror comedy directed by Ernest R. Dickerson, starring Jada Pinkett Smith, William Sadler, and Billy Zane. The guardian of an ancient key holding the blood of Christ and the residents of a boarding house face off against a powerful demon and his goblins. I absolutely love Tales from the Crypt, the series, so a full movie was right up my alley. I'm all for it. When this one dropped, I was there. It has a dark visual style that presents a dreadful atmosphere, but the movie plays out as a fun, campy watch that blends the old school anthology style with crazy action, dark humor, and some grotesque practical effects that work great for 95. And they still hold up today. Don't get me wrong. The goblins look nasty. The cast does excellent with their time on the screen, but Billy Zane gives a hell of a performance as the main demon and brings some comic relief along with his evil vibe. So if you're a fan of the series and need to revisit this classic, or you haven't seen it before, catch Tales from the Crypt Demon Night streaming on the Stars app, or for rent and purchase on Amazon Prime and Fandango.
And you love Demon Night.
A long lost classic, Popcorn. A 1991 horror film directed by Mark Harrier, starring Dee Wallace, Jill Sholin, and Tim Villard. Follows a group of college students holding a film festival where they are then stalked and murdered by a deranged serial killer inside a movie theater. This is no doubt a cult classic that really displays the essence of the early 90s with its grainy visual effects and energetic score. This movie leans into the campy horror and suspense, hit with a dash of slasher elements, perfect backdrop of a local movie screening event gone bad. The crew put in a whole lot of work because they got the props to go with each movie and everything. I'm talking about a giant floating mosquito to chairs, electroshocking folks, then things spiral into chaos with a little twist to thicken the plot. The cast brings enough energy to make this an entertaining watch, but it's a hard one to find. It's not on Tubi right now, but sometimes you can catch it in the rotation, even on Shudder. But right now, you'll probably only find a copy of Popcorn streaming on YouTube.
Corn. Buy a bag. Go home in a box.
Up next, Strangeland. A 1998 horror film directed by John Peplow, starring Dee Snider, Kevin Gage, and Linda Cardellini. Follows a detective pursuing a sadist specializing in body modification rituals who lures teenagers through the internet. Written by and starring Dee Snider in here as the crazy killer, this is an outrageous story on cyberculture gone wrong, showing how dangerous it was and really still is. But back in the day when talking to strangers in chat rooms was something fresh and on the scene, you could be chatting with any type of sicko posing as someone else. Here's a sadistic guy using chat rooms as a gateway to catch unsuspecting victims to meet up, then it's all bad news from there. Snyder gives a great performance as a disturbing, unforgettable villain, like this was made for him. Just as dark and twisted as the tone and visuals of the film, definitely another underrated gem a lot of people miss, but the good part is you can check out Strangeland streaming for free right now on Tubi.
So much flesh, so little time.
And finally, Return of the Dead, Part 3. A 1993 horror film directed by Brian Usner, starring Melinda Clarke and J. Trevor Edmond. A distraught teen performs a top-secret operation to resurrect his girlfriend after she's killed in a motorcycle accident. The third installment of the iconic zombie series. This one keeps the punk rock aesthetic of the early 90s, but ramps up the gore a bit more than the first two films. It keeps that over-the-top style and dark humor that cements these flicks as fun horror cult classics. But honestly, I feel like this was probably the last of the good ones, and Melinda Clarke does a good job showing the resistance of becoming a full-on zombie and fighting her crazy hunger and thirst for brains by self-harming till that just doesn't work anymore. It features some good creative practical effects for the gore and an eerie score that boosts the horror moments. If you're a fan of all things zombie apocalypse and haven't seen this gem of a movie, don't cheat yourself, treat yourself by catching Return of the Dead Part 3, streaming for free on Tubi and Amazon Prime. And there you have it, my good people. That wraps up 8 underrated 90s horror movies that prove the decade was chock full of creative terrors waiting to be rediscovered in the present day. Next time you're in the mood for a scare, consider revisiting one of these underrated classics. Each film offers a distinctive flavor of horror that still resonates today. So, they might just be the perfect antidote to modern horror fatigue. If you enjoyed this deep dive, hit that like button and subscribe for more explorations into the hidden corners of horror cinema. Also, drop a comment below. Which of these underrated gems are you most excited to watch? Or have you already seen one that you'll never forget? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Or, if there's any movies or new releases you recommend, let me know about them, and I'll get right back to you. Also, don't leave without sharing this video, liking, and subscribing to the channel for more heat to come. And until the next time, stay scared and keep those nightmares alive. I'm P of Pinpoint Pictures. Y'all be safe out there. Peace.